Copacabana Beach and Ipanema not too far away. It's Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, the site of the Latin American regionals. And Arena Carioca 1, 2, and 3. We are in particular inside Arena Carioca 1 today for the men's individual test number 2. He's 5-time regional athlete Chase Ingram, Joel Gadet, Tefi Escudero alongside as well. Take a look at our standings after one event, which was triple 3 here today. 3,000-meter row, 300 double unders, followed by a 3-mile run. Luis Perez out of Mexico is your event winner. Andre Sanchez was burning it to get in second. Semi Araiza was in the lead for a large portion of his heat. Lucas Rosa was his heat winner out of Brazil. He winds up 4th overall.
And so we have our second individual event of the day. We're going to call it Linda-ish because things have had to be modified because of the truck strike. So you see that bar on the floor. We're looking at 145 pounds going up. So that is going to be used for the cleans that we saw on the men's side, but it is also going to be that 295 deads. And instead of bench press, we're throwing in push press. So 10-to-1 deadlift, push press, squat cleans.
Your lane assignments here in Heat 1. There are some interesting names to watch. First and foremost, Lucas Rosa is in this heat. A lot of Brazilians, Fabio De Kiki as well. Adair Costa, who is there in lane 5, is the husband of women's number 1 in South America qualifier, Renata Pimentel. Although she is not competing here at regionals, she will take her AQ spot straight to the games as a master. Underway here for modified Linda.
Starting off with 10 reps of each, deadlifts at 295. And tell you what, some of these guys making it look like 195. Just flying through the start. I mean, lane number 8, Sebastian Calabro. Just 10 unbroken, no issues whatsoever. And then we'll move into push press. We saw bench press rear its head in the open or the regionals for the first time since we had that unfortunate incident with having the trucker strike, the equipment not being able to get here in time. They moved it to push press. So what we're probably going to see is much faster times and more aggressive starts to this event than we had when bench press was there.
If you're just joining us for the first time this weekend and are not aware of what is happening here in Brazil, we are on day 5 of a truck strike to protest rising diesel prices that have almost doubled over the course of the last 2 years. And a lot of the economy here in Brazil relies on the trucking industry. Now, it was agreed upon this morning a 15-day stay of that strike. What they do not know is whether or not that will be abided to by the actual truckers as opposed to just the negotiators. 15 days to try to negotiate a new deal. And there have been all sorts of other measures taken as well to try to get those trucks rolling again. All of the equipment on the trucks, 60 kilometers away. So what you're looking at right now is all equipment sourced from boxes in Rio de Janeiro. That's where they could go to get it. The blue strips on the floor, because the lanes are part of the equipment that did not arrive, those are the fencing strips. The actual competition floor from fencing in the 2016 Summer Olympics in these venues, the Rio de Janeiro Games. On guard.
Now, I tell you what, Sebastian's making very quick work of the first part of this event. He's been unbroken for the round of 10 and round of 9 on the deadlift side. He did go unbroken on his first set of 10 push press. 145 pounds isn't a terrible amount of weight for this amount of rep scheme, but in total it does catch up. Now the tricky part is that unlike on the bench press side, just getting to unrack and re-rack into that position, you're going to have to power clean that up every single time before you move to the squat clean portion of this event.
Sebastian Calabro out of Buenos Aires and Jackable CrossFit. There are a bunch of Jackable competitors in this regional. One of them is in this heat, Batuque Iribarren. Sasha Nieves on the women's side, also out of Jackable. The name is Icelandic. It means nestle of giants. And they have produced their fair share here in 2018.
And this is the appropriate tactic, I believe, for this particular event, is that since it is push press instead of bench press here in the Latin America regional, is that going unbroken on deads, maybe one break if it's heavy for you, trying to go unbroken on the push press is the way to go, because you do have these quick singles on the back end of each round. That's the technique, at least that's the pacing that you want to see these athletes do on the competition floor. I think the mistake you'll see a lot of people do is doing too big of sets on the clean side, whether it's touch and go for all the reps or too many. It's not necessary when you think about how long this workout is or how many reps in total there are.
Back to the deadlifts for Sebastian Calabro. And standing directly to his right is Batuke Iribarren. So you've got the two Jacobol guys right next to each other. 31 and 30 years of age out of Buenos Aires.
And just you think about what they did earlier, just a couple of hours ago, with the triple threes at 3K row, double unders, and 3 mile run, is that this is a polar opposite event. It's a little bit longer, so it's not quite a pure strength event, almost a strength endurance style, but we go from 3 monostructural movements, which is just running, rowing, and biking, into 3 barbell movements. It's a very interesting way to start a regional event, thinking that it could totally flip what we saw earlier today after this one.
It's also the first time that these athletes have to deal with recovery. And the two guys in front right now, Calabro and Iribarren, are both regionals veterans. And one of the things a lot of the veterans have told us that they've learned from past regionals is they never really thought about how to recover before. The time spent between event 1 and event 2, where you've got a couple hours, what has to happen to prepare you best for what comes next?
I just got to think about what you just did and what you have coming up. And you think about a long aerobic endurance event that went in the triple threes, is that you're going to need to do a lot of, I don't want to say caloric replacement, but in terms of just like storages that you expend while you're doing it. It's a lot of, high carbs, simple things to kind of refuel you as quick as you can, because that type of effort for that amount of time, you don't want to refuel pretty well and just get yourself ready. You don't want to do anything too heavy in terms of food and nutrition in between, but you do want to do something immediately after that long aerobic endurance. Now, setting up to get prepped for this, something simple, and your body is going from a main oxidative like endurance aerobic workout to a very anaerobic one, right? You got high power output, you got heavy weight, so we're really taxing the muscles a lot more than we were the lungs in the first event.
I'm confused at the moment because Sebastian Calabro, I think, lied to us. He told us squat cleans slow him down, and here he is at the front of Modified Linda Event 2 on the men's side.
Well, when it's just 1/3 of the amount of reps you have to do and you've been unbroken on the other 2/3, you can afford to be slower on the squat cleans, but seeing as how singles tend to be the appropriate way to go, okay, maybe you think doing singles is slow, but right now is that you're handling it pretty well.
The first Argentinian ever to a regional. Batuke Iribarren, 5th place in 2011. He finished in the top 10 in every event that year. He was one of only 4 athletes that could claim that in the Latin American regionals. He was one of only 8, though, to actually participate, to meet the minimum requirements of every event that year. And that has been one of the biggest areas of growth in this regional. You have seen an ability to develop a little bit more breadth and depth.
Yes.
Where you've got enough athletes that can do everything as opposed to just 1 or 2, and then everybody else is here to hope it goes well.
And, this isn't the only region that has kind of got its own regional back. We used to have an Africa region back in 2014, I think it was the last year that we had it, where we've seen athletes get dwindled down to 5 just based off minimum work requirements, where they're getting it back A little bit. They're calling it the Meridian. Now Europe got their own. So we do have 2 new regions back into the fold with our regional events.
This is a modified Linda, so 10 down to 1, which means when you get to what seems like the halfway point, you have done the overwhelming majority of your work. Once you're to the 5s, you're kind of in more of a sprint than anything else because you're almost at the finish, even though it seems like you're only halfway done. It starts with the deadlifts, then to the push press, and finally the clean. Your leader right now is Calabro. His jackable teammate is Iribarren. Calabro back to the deadlifts. There's Pedro Castro. We mentioned him in Heat 1 of Event 1. I think the most impressive thing about Pedro Castro is that as sweaty and as hardworking as he has gotten, that mustache has not moved him an inch.
Well, I think those mustaches are designed to lift weights with.
I love it. 22 years of age out of Belo Horizonte in Brazil. This is his first regional as an individual. He came on a team a year ago. He was 8th in the Brazil CrossFit tournament. And this is where we talked about Latin America getting a regional back. Brazil is the 2nd most populous country in terms of CrossFit affiliates. They have their own tournament. And a lot of the top finishers are here at this regional event. Pedro Castro was 8th in this most recent one. Anderon Primo, we will see coming up in one of our last 3 heats of modified Linda, is their triple champion 3 times in the Brazilian CrossFit tournament. Iribarren as about as good as it gets out of Argentina.
I like the walking in between. You know, those deadlifts really add up early, even though it is going down from 10 to 1. But that little walk in between is enough to just pick the bar up right when you get there. It's going to feel real light when you power clean that to go overhead. And that's kind of like the nice thing going from deadlifts to push presses is that you go from 295 to 145. So there is almost that just like that kind of mental boost is like, okay, this doesn't feel heavy. I can do as many unbroken as necessary, whatever number I'm on. And then the quick singles again is like you do not have to be good at cleans to be good at singles. At this weight, as long as you can just keep getting in good positions. The one thing you don't want to do is have bad positions on your deadlift, overextend on your push press. That will tighten you up on squat cleans. All right, that will happen. So you just got to make sure is that you put yourself in good positions so you don't set yourself up for something bad towards the end of this event.
Second place for Adair Costa at the moment out of Fortaleza in Brazil. We mentioned earlier his wife is Renata Pimentel, who is going to Madison, Wisconsin, an automatic qualifier as a Masters Games athlete. She was number 1 in South America. Adair, not too bad in his own right. Former bodybuilder. He was 4th place in that aforementioned Brazil CrossFit tournament. Comes in out of CrossFit Gurkha in Fortaleza. This is different than Event 1 in the respect of kind of looking around and being able to see where people are. How much are you in an event like this locked into your work and who you are and where you are as opposed to peering over your shoulder?
Well, the way this is set up is very nice is that I like to look around at other people, and I think some of your top athletes do as well. But if you're on the bar, you're focused on the bar. But what's nice is in between is that between the deadlifts and back to the deadlifts, you have time to look around. So that stretch from the deadlift to your push press bar, you can see where people are at if they're next to you or beside you, and the same thing on the way back. So that's kind of the nice thing is that it's almost built in for you, so you're not kind of wasting time looking at other people as opposed to it all being in one spot.
Also, you get to walk past them all.
Yes.
On the way back. So you can take stock as you're on the move.
And that's what they should be, right? Trying to catch your breath, analyze what's going on. And here you see something I was just touching on is that, you know, your back can get tight so easily in events like this, right? That's not it's not a heavy deadlift, but it is for 55 reps. It's not a heavy push press, but if you overextend or arch your back at the top of every press, that movement back and forth is going to tighten up your back, and then squat cleans as well, right? So you got to make sure of is that you're in a good positions as well as you keep that intensity that you need to do well in this event.
That was Gilson Duarte that you were just talking about in the yellow Brazil shirt. Now we are closing in relatively on a 17-minute cap. There is not an expectation that you will finish this today. So as some of these guys are getting into their rounds of 3, 2, and 1, less than half of the competitors in the 3 regionals that went last week finished this work.
I think the way this is set up, you should see a lot more finish because of the push press. In terms of difficulty, it is much, much easier to push through a push press, especially at 145, than it is a bench press at 195 because of the strict nature of bench press. It's a failure movement. Being able to use your legs for a push press is so much easier to do when you're tired. So these athletes actually should do better at this event than you would say the traditional style that was originally programmed.
Push press is the movement, by the way. Push jerk is a no rep. So at this level, these athletes don't usually have that confusion standard, but
they don't, but it doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Correct. Correct.
You see everybody defaults to push jerk when they get tired. It's just natural. How can I make this easier? And I'll rebend my knees before it goes over my head.
Iribarren has pushed past Calabro. Sebastian Calabro was in front of him, but Iribarren has now moved back for his round of 1. The deadlift is in the bag, and he will finish.
And this is where you don't want to see a jog. You got 1 rep left of each one. We should be moving a little bit quicker. You don't have to pace it out for a push press. In fact, you should do a push press right into a squat clean and just get it over with.
There's the clean.
There it is.
Put it down, and the push press. I flipped those either way. He's done at 15:49. So Batuke Iribarren is your Heat 1 winner. And with a minute left until the cap, will anyone else join him as a finisher?
I don't know if there's going to be enough time to get
Adair
through that.
Costa's got a chance. He's
Costa
got a muscle.
He's going to have to sprint a little bit quicker than that.
He's got to know, too. I don't know if he got a glance at the clock or not, but he's got to get this deadlift off the ground and run. Costa has the deadlift up. 26 seconds. You can see the crowd just telling him to come, run, go. People are waving, pulling him. He has 23 seconds. Adair Costa. There's the press. Put it down. And he got no reps. There's the press. 9 seconds to clean and get to the number. With 5 seconds, he's got it up. 2 seconds, he's got a cross.
Oh my gosh.
That came awfully close.
He didn't make it.
He was a hair short. Costa is capped plus no.
I'm going to bite my tongue on the finish of that event for him. There's no excuse for that.
Iribarren is the only one to finish.
So not the first one out of the gate, but he was close to Calabro, who was on his right-hand teammate. But Iribarren just doing what he needs to do, good tempo, never overstressed himself, very quick in between the reps, and then going right from one rep into the other at the end. Made it a little bit more challenging for him, but someone who was afraid of some high-volume cleans, he handled it pretty well.
Teffy is with Batuke.
Batuke, how does this workout compare to actual lift? Se siente un poco más en el cardio. La verdad que aumenta mucho el cardio. Tenía pensado correr en las transiciones, pero me di cuenta de que no era una buena opción.
He says that he can go faster, so he was a little bit more taxed than he wanted to. He wanted to make the transitions a little bit faster, but wasn't able. You did a great job today. We can wait to see you tomorrow.
Muchas gracias. Gracias a todos.
Tefi, thank you. Batuki Aribaran is victorious in Heat 1, and we are already set for Heat 2. This is modified Linda, 10 down to 1. No bench press today. We do not have bench presses because of the truck strike here in Brazil. So it'll be deadlift, push press, squat clean, 10 to 1, 17 minutes to go. Take a timeout. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with that Heat number 2. The standings after one event on the men's side. Luis Perez out of Mexico, your event 1 winner on 333, Andre Sanchez and Samuel Ariza right behind him. Lucas Rosa did win his heat, and we will see Lucas Rosa in this second heat of, I stand correct, no we won't, we'll see him in the next one. We will see Anderon Primo, however, in this heat, and he is the local favorite, one of the big guys to watch. Nicholas Bidarche, also one of the big names here as we get underway for modified Linda.
Starting off with 10 reps of each, deadlifts at 295, push press at 145, and then cleans also at 145. We saw your top athletes start unbroken. However, in this heat, we've seen much more, actually everyone breaking at least one time in the first set of 10. Now, myself, just watching this, I don't think that's the worst idea in the world if you can be quick with your transitions. If that saves you a little energy, saves you some time, it is worth it to have that slight break.
Did we learn anything from the first heat today in terms of what to expect with the way this workout has been modified?
I think in terms of how to pace, right? So I was talking in the last heat is that now that bench is out of the running for this event and now it's push press, you can go faster than maybe you originally planned because there isn't a failure point on bench press. So maybe taking a little break on the deadlifts, getting to your bar, knocking out the push press as quick as you can, and then quick singles. I think this allows for a little bit more intensity in this event than previous ones with when it was bench press.
Mariano Sanchez is on the right of your screen. Your leader is on the left. That is Reginaldo Silva. Full name, Antonio Reginaldo Silva, out of Fortaleza in Brazil, CrossFit R2. We saw one finisher in the first heat today. That was Batuki Iribarren, and we very nearly saw a second.
Well, we should have saw a second. You're saying very nearly as if he almost got there. The guy just didn't even finish the event.
Most of the work you do in this event is front-loaded, and that's just obvious in the 10 down to 1. But it is being able to break through. Part of it, the mental barrier. I got to do 10. I got to do 9. I got to do 8. And you don't realize that at that point, once you're through 7s, you've done half your work.
Yeah, and that's what you also need to understand is like, look, if I can get through 7, I'm well over halfway and I'm home free. So a lot of this is pacing myself till I get to maybe 5 or 4 and then really start to turn it on again. What we saw in some of the event records set in last weekend is that most of your event record holders had the same time splits from 10 all the way down to 5. You know, on the men's side, it was about 125 around. On the women's side, close to about 130 on average. From 10 to 5, it was actually quite amazing to see how close it was. Maybe a couple seconds here and there. So in the very beginning is that where you start, it's okay to keep the same pace as the next couple of rounds as long as you don't bleed too much time out. And when you get towards the end, you know, if you can move, you need to move.
Modified Linda here in test number 2 with the deadlift, the push press instead of the bench press, and the squat clean. the push press versus the bench press.
Yes.
Difference of it, not in difficulty, but in terms of the actual movement. It is more shoulder, less chest. What changes in terms of how this could benefit and or hurt different athletes based on their strengths and or weaknesses?
I don't see it hurting anyone at all unless they just don't have the endurance, because the benefit is that you can go unbroken, you can do more reps in one sitting because of the use of the legs. Right? You get to use your legs, you get to use your hip. It's more of a dynamic movement, and it's straight overhead. So different than a bench press where you can't use your hips, you can't use your feet. And if you try to, you'll get a no rep. But the weight itself, it's 50 pounds less in a movement that you could theoretically do. I think they probably could have done push press at this weight. But part of it, too, is just the amount of equipment we have available to us at the same time. Again, all this equipment is supplied by local affiliates. The trucks haven't been able to get here yet because of that truck driver strike. So we don't have enough equipment here in general to do 3 sets of bars for 10 athletes per round, too. So some of those constraints they have to work with. In the end, it's still a great test that these athletes have to go through. You got the heavy deadlifts on the front part. You have the dynamic movement with the push press, and then those squat cleans afterwards. So all it is, it's jacking your heart rate up even more. It's making sure you have even more work capacity than you had originally thought. With bench press being so heavy, guys had to break it up, right? Girls had to break it up, 1s and 2s and 3s. So that almost slowed people down. So what it does, it drives more intensity and it kind of makes this event a little bit more exciting to watch.
Additionally, it is possible to go straight from a push press into a squat clean. I don't want to say it's impossible to go from a bench press into a squat clean, but you're risking life and limb in doing so. Please don't try it at home. And if you do, his name is Chase Ingram. And have somebody move the bench.
That'd be a horrible idea.
Nicholas Bidarche is on the left. He is your leader right now. Manuel Gallegos is on the right.
Bidarche had a good event 1.
He was a leader for a while.
For quite a long while until Rosa overtook everybody.
Gallegos is an interesting story statistically on the right. He jumped from 2,399th in Latin America to 275th in Mexico. He made an enormous leap in his CrossFit journey in just his second year in the Open. And part of that might be, hey, he did a scaled workout.
Yeah,
and he got better as an athlete.
I learned how to do something. It's like I learned how to do muscle-ups. I couldn't do them last year. Weird things like that happen.
Still Gallegos there. He's out of Mexico, an unaffiliated athlete. He has no actual home box gym listed. 25 years of age and trying to make an impression here in his first regional appearance. On the men's side, we talked about this on the women's side where there's such a diversity of country. There is less so here on the men's side. Mexico, Brazil, and Argentina are really the 3 biggest representations. 78% of all men's individual competitors are from those 3 countries, including Gallegos. As a matter of fact, 9 of the 10 people in this heat are from those 3 countries.
Oh, there you go.
Alain Davidson is from Panama City, Panama.
And I think the tricky thing here is that all of these athletes,
no rep there,
should have done a dry run of the weekend. Right? I'm going to do 333s in the morning, then in the afternoon, and then the other events I have coming up after that. So they knew that what effort they should put forth in the 333s to match up with the challenge that will be coming from Linda. This is a different challenge in terms of how it's going to feel. Like I said before, there's going to be a bit more intensity with this event. So they might not be used to or accustomed of what this is going to feel like because they haven't got to practice it yet. So I think you'll see a lot of athletes almost get shocked by how this is going to feel relative to what Linda would be with bench press in it.
Gallegos still in front. He is the only man deadlifting currently. As he works into his round of 6. At this point, you are more than halfway through your work as well. 10 down to 1. So simple math there. Your first round equals the work of your last 4 rounds. And that's part of the mental game of a 10 to 1 event.
Well, I think that's what's important to know is that maybe treat 10 as a little bit of a buy-in. I think the misconception is that, oh, I have more reps, I should go faster here. That's not necessarily the case because where I have more transitions is on the back half. So if I'm so tired in 4-3-1 because I went too hard in 10, you're actually going to lose more time because there's more transitions than gain it just because there's more reps. So I think the first blush is, well, I go hard in the beginning because there's more work. That's not necessarily true and not necessarily a good idea. Those that can go harder at the end, running back and forth, 2 transitions, 2 transitions, 2 transitions, you can make up way more time on a tired field than you can on a fresh field.
Bidarche is now out of gas, but he was pumping through the push presses just a couple of seconds ago.
You know, and I think you explained what's happening here just based off that is that going too fast too soon. You know, there's kind of there's a flip side of both of those, but that's kind of my point is that as Bidarche's falling off the pace, Gallegos is speeding up.
Gallegos is on his 5 push presses. Bidarche is on his 6 cleans. So 2 full movements ahead in the standings.
Right, and just like that, you're a round ahead.
There was just a round of applause, too, by the way, when Anderon Primo finished his last set of 6, and he kind of falls under the radar a little bit. He is so far physically away from us, way over there in lane 1, but he has the support of the crowd behind him. He is the local favorite. He is the one that I think if you polled this crowd, they would say, that guy. Anderon Primo is on to his 5 push presses. So he trying to make a push here to catch Bidarche. Actually has caught Bidarche. He's in second place behind Gallegos.
I was going to say he's caught Bidarche, but Gallegos, who's moving up in the center part of your screen, is still a round ahead of him.
Primo, the triple champion of the Brazil CrossFit tournament. He has won it 3 times. He wants to be the first Brazilian male out of the open men's division to make it to the games, which is something that goes for a lot of these athletes from a lot of their home countries. And you can hear him as he goes back for his next round of deadlifts. That matters. That little bump when he turns around to go down the runway, when he hears everyone get behind him. Now, maybe he's not paying attention. You're locked in. You clear the mechanism.
Oh, you can hear him. You can hear when it comes out of this, especially when you're walking in between. It matters. You know, but if he's going to try to keep up, he's going to have to start running in between. Now, there's time to make up, but like I said, this is the 4-3-1. These are the last 10 reps you have. There's no more time to waste when you get 4-1. Right? You can waste a little bit of time in the 10 to 9 to 7, but
and Gallegos is jogging as you say that.
And that's what he needs to do. He needs to do that in between. He only has 3 reps left for his side. Now this transition in between becomes more important than the reps at the either end.
Iribarren, 15:48 is the time to beat. Now Gallegos did come in 6th in the first event today. So if he were to put up a solid score here and it were to hold, he puts himself in a real good spot heading into moving day tomorrow.
He has about a minute and a half or just over that to try to set the new time to beat. Just 2 of everything, so like I said before, these are where you need to move in between. All right, you're not gonna beat anybody off the bar anymore. It's only 2 reps, but you can beat them between the bars.
Push press 1 and 2 up for Gallego. Primo is behind him on his 3s. And he's got to advance the bar, so Gallego does that before retreating to his final deadlift. Primo is 1 full round behind him as they both track down the lane. Those are your top 2. Iribarren's time well within reach. If Gallegos doesn't have trouble, he will absolutely catch it. Here's the clean. And he'll walk over a new event leader.
I like the way he finished that. All right, get to the round of 5, start jogging in between your bars.
Here's a 25-year-old in his 2nd open, his first regional, who is now an event leader, 6th in an event. He's unaffiliated with a box. Who is Manuel Gallegos, and where did he come from? Primo is on his final deadlift, and he will be a finisher with a minute left until the cap. And I don't know if anybody else is going to be able to. The next closest would be Eder Carrillo, who's a 22-year-old out of Mexico in lane 5. He is on his round of 2, but he is going to have to absolutely bust his tail to finish. Primo is over. He is the 3rd finisher between the 2 heats. And Carrillo got no rep on one of his squat cleans. So that'll eat some of his time. And he has 20 seconds left to begin his round of 1. But these are valuable points to keep him ahead in the standings. Try to get him 3rd in the heat with still 2 more to follow. And here he comes with 8 seconds. He will sprint and try to get a push press with 3 seconds. He's got the bar up. He's got it in the air. He's trying for the clean, and he couldn't get it. He made his best effort, though, and Carrillo will be 3rd in the heat behind the finishers, Gallegos and Primo. Manuel Gallegos, welcome to CrossFit.
Yeah, and I'm starting to see the blueprint come into play, come into fold here for this. Is steady singles in the very beginning. I like the way he paced it out. Push presses were light and quick. His deadlifts, he broke in the beginning, and then once he got to that certain number where he knew he could hang on, he did. But it was in the end of the event where he started to move quicker in between, able to walk to the finish line. First place, heat number 2.
Gallegos is with Teffy.
Manuel, an amazing job this time around. There's only 1 spot for the games. How do you feel about that?
Me siento muy contento. Siento que dimos todo lo que traíamos y pues gracias a Dios nos alcanzó para un primer lugar en este hit. Gracias, Steffi.
He's thankful that he got a first win event right here in this hit. Thank you.
Thank you. Gracias. Un saludo para la gente de Chihuahua, México. Saludote.
And this is where I bite my tongue and make fun of myself. I grabbed the wrong set of note cards. We will see two people named Maxi and Ivan in Heat 4. Here are the lane assignments for Heat 3. Samuel Ariza, who was so strong in the run in Event 1. Thomas Wilson is our lone competitor out of the British Virgin Islands. Out of Puerto Rico, Emmanuel Maldonado, the only representative of his nation and a Games competitor in 2014. He is certainly one of the names to watch in this heat.
I'd be curious to see how Luis Perez does as well, who ended up taking the triple threes ahead of being able to see him the entire time because he passed Ariza so quickly in the first portion of that event. But we see different strategies, a couple quick guys out of the gate going for that unbroken, the rest of the field opting to take a quick break on the deadlifts. 145 for the push presses. So what, lane number 10 at the bottom part of your screen, just flying through this early portion. Pablo Aber out of CrossFit Q21.
They sent a team, and a team that showed well this morning.
That's just a very quick pace to start this event.
What does that tell you, by the way, for a guy like Aber that comes from Q21, where his box is good enough to send a team, which has 6 people on it, 4 that compete, and have leftover for individuals?
I mean, it's just, they got depth, they got a lot of people to pull from, and, it just kind of depends. Like, my affiliate back in Dallas across the Big D, we put 2 girls in the regional and a team. So, we have a strong community and a lot of depth, but, good quality individuals as well. So, they might be working with the same thing there.
It's coaching.
Well, yes.
Turning back to the deadlift bar. Agustin Garavaglia right now is your leader. He's being trailed by Aber and Andre Sanchez, who showed well in triple threes as well.
He got a no rep for not extending at the top, and then took about 10 to 15 seconds, kind of a break between the reps. I think of a lot of it too is that and most of these guys opting to take a quick break, 2 sets of 5, 6-4, something of that nature. I mean, unless you're going to go unbroken for the whole event, there's really no need to start that way. In terms of that one break won't save you as much time as, say, doing a quick break and a faster transition between, say, your push press to cleans.
There's Aber. He was on Team Q21, by the way, in each of the last 2 regionals, 2016 and 2017, as part of that Super South regional. So we talk about guys branching out, guys and women branching out with the return of the Latin American region. Opportunities to go as an individual. We've seen a lot of people, I'm going to go this on my own and see how I can test myself with a spot to go dedicated to Latin America.
Absolutely, and I think if you are a team competitor and you've always had an opportunity to go individual, this is the time to do it. Right? You have your own regional back in your own backyard. Going and combining with the South athletes a couple of years ago, that's probably not the best time to try an individual bid when you're from South America. But now that it's getting better and all these athletes are improving, going individual is not a bad idea.
That's still who you're chasing, though. If you're going to go as an individual, you're the man until somebody beats the man.
Right.
And right now, Maldonado is the most recent Latin American champion. He went to the games as a 24-year-old in 2014, and he made enough waves. Sports Illustrated profiled him. He was in their list of the faces of CrossFit when he went to the games as the first Puerto Rican to do so. So you return his kingdom, so to speak. Can he reclaim his throne? I never got to the end of Prince Caspian. I don't know what happens.
He still has a pretty decent pace. The time between singles are a little bit more, but I just like how upright he catches that barbell. And when you're talking about trying to like save your back in a sense, is how you catch the bar is just as important as how you pick up the bar. You know, I'd like to probably see him set his chest up a little bit early or more at the start. If you kind of see, look at his low back, he's a little bit rounded right off the start, right? And that's a product of the deadlifts kind of taking its toll, the push presses. You'd be surprised how much push presses can take its toll on your low back if you are not in good position. So that won't last very long in terms of positioning at the start. His bottom position and receiving position are pretty good. What I'd like to see is that going to last as we're only out to the 8 and into the round of 7, so barely into that halfway point.
Aber walking back down his lane, 23rd after the first event. Sanchez next to him, 2nd. And the difference between those finishes, 94 points, 34 points. Now that can obviously be made up if you invert that, but that's where things stand right now, and that's where standings matter. If you're not going to win an event, your place still counts, and it still comes into effect.
Right, and that's just kind of fun about the first part of this regional is that everything's so different, right? The way event 1 and compares to event 2, the way event 2 compares to event 3 and vice versa is that, you know, the leaderboard's going to do a lot of switching of the next 3 events.
$11 minutes to go. 3 finishers so far in 2 heats. 4 people finished the workload. 3 people finished the event.
Yeah, that's true.
1 just did not get over the finish line.
1 didn't want to finish the event.
The event record right now is 12:09, set in Europe last week. That was also with a bench press.
That is so fast. That is such a fast time, especially with bench press.
I mean, there were only 10 people that finished under 14 minutes. So consider the fact that he did that 2 minutes faster.
It's incredible.
That's Aber on the right, Sanchez on the left. Andre Sanchez out of Sao Paulo. A lot of the people here are CrossFit coaches, are CrossFit lifers, so to speak. Their life surrounds this sport and it surrounds them. Andre Sanchez trains a lot. He's also a life planner for Prudential. So, you know, tip your cap to a lot of these athletes that deal with that too at this level. You've got people that have wives, families, jobs, and still find the time to train 2-3 times a day, depending on their situation.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Brent Fikowski, full-time accountant and one of the most elite CrossFitters in the world. It's amazing.
I also appreciate Sanchez's sartorial decisions today. Aber is on his round of 6.
Kind of here's the problem. As he's getting more fatigued, he's getting at least 1 no rep per movement by just, I would say, fatigued reps, right? He's not trying to do anything wrong or trying to short anything, but, you know, he's got no rep for pressing the bar out, but his hips never came back, where you kind of just let your butt shoot back but press it over your head. He got a no rep on the last set of cleans because he just dropped the bar a little too soon before he stood up all the way, right? Little things like that may not seem like a big deal in the round of 8, but when you're getting into the rounds of 3s and 2s, that's a huge deal. So we got to make sure that he cleans that up a little bit as he gets towards the later half of this event.
Is that just taking more time? Don't rush.
Yeah, and I think it's a product of just, taking more time, just making sure your judge calls you good. You don't get into this kind of habit of standing and dropping at the same time, right? A half a second extra is worth standing up all
stopping, not working, resting and taking a breath, and then doing a counted rep.
Right.
Takes the same of time and a much less work
Right.
as lifting the bar twice and only one of them counted.
Exactly.
Aber is now on to his deadlifts. Sanchez joining him. Both men are on their round of 5.
And where Sanchez tends to be making up his work is he's just doing the work that he has to do. He's not doing an extra rep here and there on both the push press and the cleans.
Sanchez looks easy too. He's just cruising.
Well, he had a nice steady start, and he never really slowed down, where Pablo, who's on the right, started very fast. And I said this in the last heat, it's more beneficial to go faster at the end than it is to go faster in the beginning. Yes, there's more reps to do, but there's much more transitions towards the end. So if you can be quick in between and not waste time from bar to bar, as you see Sanchez starting to jog, right, that's what you want to see. You can really catch people at the end faster than you think.
On to the round of 5 in lane 6 as well for Agustin Garavaglia, who remember was our early leader today. Maldonado is on his round of 6 and has just pushed his bar forward. So they are the chasers right now, but it is all the way down in lanes 9 and 10 at the moment where this competition is being fought. Sanchez has the walking lead over Aber. And Sanchez, look at how easy this looks to pump that bar for 4 reps. Down to the cleans. They're counting in the arena.
And there you see another no rep for Pablo on the right for dropping the bar before he stands up.
Sanchez is the Brazilian, and they're letting him know. And now, at this point in the game, unless he just runs out of gas, his lead is almost insurmountable. He's got a full length of the floor. And he's done the deadlifts. Sanchez is getting stronger.
I would like to see him move a little faster in between the bars like you saw Gallegos do in the previous heat.
Garavaglia is on his heels. He is now on to his 4s, although walking back to the deadlifts.
This is what we've been missing for the last 3 years. The Latin American Regional is one of the most exciting, vibrant, and loudest crowds you will ever see at a regional event.
Filled up as the day is going on, as the work day has ended.
I mean, this is the biggest Friday crowd I've ever seen in a regional in the last 3 years.
We will see thousands in Arena Carioca 1 by the time this is done. Sanchez to his round of 2, where Aber just got. I want people to applaud me when I go from my push presses to my squat cleans.
Now you gotta run. You got the crowd behind you. You got 1 rep left of everything. Now is the time to move.
Little less than 3 minutes left in the test. And a quick deadlift. Sanchez. into the clubhouse. Andre Sanchez at home. He is the fourth man to finish. Modified Linda. And still plenty of time, 2 minutes and change. But there are some athletes that have got to move if they would like to join those ranks. From the looks of it, Aber will be just fine. One push press, one clean. And Pablo Aber joins Sanchez. There's the difference in crowd, though, by the way. Pablo Aber is from Argentina. No one cheered. I mean, the golf clap. But they were willing Sanchez to the finish line.
I mean, I've never heard a crowd just start counting all the way down from 5 to 1.
There's a minute and 15 seconds left, and in lane 6, Agustin Garavaglia, I don't know if he's got enough time, but he's got time. There's 2 on the presses.
If he sprints, he has time. But he's going to have to sprint. It's 1 rep of everything.
He's got to move
55 seconds.
Out of Buenos Aires in Argentina, his 4th trip to regionals. Finished as high as 5th on a team back in 2013. He has 30 seconds, more than enough time. Now he's got to get the work in and get over the line. Adair Costa fell short of that in Heat 1. There's the workload, and he's done. 3 finishers here in the 3rd heat. And with 12 seconds left, that will be all. But guys will push for additional reps to their tally as we hit the 17-minute time cap. Linda in the books for 3 of the 4 heats. Andre Sanchez to the top.
I like the steady pace he had in the beginning. Everything was smooth and methodical. Deadlifts were good, took breaks, good positioning. Nothing too crazy to start this event, and here's where he started to make his move in the round of 4. That no rep that Pablo kept getting towards the end when he got fatigued. Sanchez passes him on the left, and then it doesn't hurt to have the crowd screaming for you all the way from round 5 down to round 1. I'm not say it's easy to take the heat, but it doesn't hurt.
Down to Teffy. Teffy, help him tell us what the crowd was like.
Andre, this crowd was amazing cheering for you. How does that impact your performance?
Me ajudou muito, principalmente porque o pessoal que treina comigo, o pessoal do meu box CrossFit Taim, minha esposa, todo mundo ali, escutar o ginásio inteiro berrando, com certeza eu não teria feito touch and go.
He says that it was an amazing crowd and he would have done touch and go if it wasn't for them. Thank you very much, Andre.
Thank you.
Teffy, thank you. I mean this half jokingly, but also quite seriously. How does his hair stay that perfect after an effort like that? Come on! The guy's gassed, and nothing has moved. He's like Clark Kent. Take a timeout. Heat 4. Ivan Gaitan and Maxi Aragosi coming up next. It's Heat 4 of men's event number 2. Joel Cadet, 5-time regionals athlete Chase Ingram, Teffy Escudero. Glad to have you along with us here in Rio de Janeiro as we finish up our men's work for the day. Take a look at the lane assignments. Ivan Gaitan, Maxi Aragosi. The 2 guys, or 2 of the main guys, highlighted at the top. Luis Oscar Mora as well. He will be in lane 4, the former games competitor in the teens division. What stands out to you in this heat number 4?
Just the caliber of athletes we have coming in, the pressure that we might have been bestowing on them before this regional starts. But let's just see how they handle this, knowing 3 heats have already gone, and if they take a page out of some of these early leader playbook says it's not about how you start, obviously. It's more about how you're going to finish.
The event is Linda. 10 reps down to 1 rep.
Okay.
Starting with deadlifts, push pressing, and then cleaning. The push press, instead of the bench press, we do not have bench presses. That's based on the truck strike again in Brazil that has gone on now better than 4 days. The equipment from CrossFit, let's be honest, it's stuck in a blockade 60 kilometers away. So all this equipment locally sourced.
Now, I don't know if up in the top part of your screen in lane 1 that Mauro Acevedo is just trying to set the event record for first round of 10s completed, because he did 10 unbroken, sprinted to the bar, 10 unbroken, 5 untouch-and-go cleans, and then sprinted through this at 1:02.
He did. He is on pace. 1:16 is the event record pace through 10s, and Acevedo just did it in 1:01.
I can't wait to see your round 5. That's all I'm going to say is that keep going. I can't wait to see round 5.
You know what? The round 5 record split was 8:22. I hope he beats it. And then I'm going to tell him what you said.
Yeah, please do. And then I'll tell him how to pace Linda.
Acevedo's already done the deadlifts as he makes his way back to his bar. Helps himself to the chalk. Second place, that is the aforementioned Luis Oscar Mora.
Looks comfortable. Already in the round of 9. It's what you want to see. Walk in between. 19 years old. That's just incredible to be that young and competing at this level.
It's a good bounce back for him, too. He went to the games, was 4th among teenagers, missed the podium by 2 points in 2016-17, was pushed into the open division the next year. He aged out of being a teenager, that happens. Did not qualify for regionals. And that can happen too when you're first exposed. We saw that in Latin America this year. Guilherme Mahieros is not here. Remember, he was at the 18.1 Open announcement. He just missed out by 2 spots. So for Luis Oscar Mora, now to be at regionals, back at the competition level he wants to be at and is comfortable at, is huge for him.
Well, you think about aging up from 17 to 18 when you're thrown into the mix with everyone. That is a huge step to take. All right, so I wouldn't say it's a disappointment at all that he didn't qualify for regionals when he was 18 years old. I think it's actually more impressive that he got here within a year of his trip to the CrossFit Games as a 17-year-old. So it's amazing to see the youth that is coming up through a sport in Latin America.
He was first this year in Mexico. So that's the jump he made from year 18 to 19. Not only did he qualify for regionals, he won his country. And don't undersell the country part of that. He said going to the games, you're nervous because you fly the flag and you represent your country. So there's a pride and there's a pressure that comes with that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is Acevedo still going strong in lane 1.
The speed at which Acevedo moves on the deadlifts is incredible so far. But you can see it's just starting to take its toll. Right, we are only in the round of 8. Right, and what you see from Oscar Mora on the right is that just look at the difference between the two. Right, the breathing of Acevedo on the left, the calmness of Oscar Mora on the right. Hands on the hips on the left, looking around. Well, Oscar Mora is just focused on the clock in front of him and the bar at his feet.
I'll give you the statistical difference right now. The record for this event is 12:09. The splits are 1:16 through the round of 10. Acevedo did his round of 10 in 1:01. 15 seconds ahead of the record split. He is now, however, more than a minute behind the record split for the round of 8.
Right, and that record is also a difference between doing bench press versus doing push press. But I would
just
say
to show
in the
comparison.
beginning,
Correct.
a bench press in, say, round 1 unbroken will be faster than a push press.
But even still, he was ahead of.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Whatever
It's like
the number was, he was ahead of it, and now he's behind.
He was 10 seconds ahead with a push press. That is arguably slower than a bench press. And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's how fast he came out.
No.
Now, bench press will get harder at the end of it, but if we're talking about pure speed, fresh, bench is going to be faster than push press. That's how fast he came out of the gates. It's insane.
Now back to his deadlifts.
And now we're breaking after 2.
He was hoping for another number, I think.
You know, and I was saying it's like
he turned and said 2.
Like, you have the skill set, yet you just shot yourself in the foot by going out too fast. You know? And it's not a knock. Well, it is a knock, but I'm not trying to downplay someone's ability, but you got to put a game plan to your fitness level. And if you're that strong and that good, you took yourself out of it by going that hard in the very beginning. Now he's still leading, so he could hang on to this, and I could be completely wrong. But we're just getting towards the halfway point as we're moved into the round of 7.
Acevedo out of CrossFit Auckland in Buenos Aires. Let's take a look over in lane 6. This is our guy to watch. Your guy to watch. Ivan Gaitan, 9th place after the event, won 333. A games competitor a year ago on Big Friends, the team. Made the joke yesterday, Big Friends goes the way of NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, Jackson 5. They've all gone their own separate ways. The solo careers this year. All the Big Friends members are here this year as individuals with the reemergence of the Latin American regional.
Who's going to be the Justin Timberlake of Big Friends, I guess, is the next question.
I mean, JC Chasse had himself a fine career. Gaitan is on his round of 7 and is just cruising. Smooth and steady wins the race as Acevedo is wearing the wrong shirt for this particular event, but I agree with those sentiments. I do enjoy a good
snatch or dive. I mean, I feel like he's kind of taking that T-shirt to heart. It's like, you know, either sprint or die, and I feel like we're going to see one or the other by the end of this event.
We might see both.
Now he still has a decent timed lead on Oscar Mora and Gaitan, but it's going to be the little things in between towards the end. You know, what I'd like to see from Oscar Mora, who's just taking a rest in the middle, he's getting pretty gassed too, so I'm not sure if he's going to be able to push Acevedo towards the end as they're creeping into their 6th round.
Acevedo's 2 favorite movements in CrossFit, his 3 favorite movements. His best is his snatch. But beyond that, he likes thrusters. So what is a thruster? It's a push press and it's a squat into a push press. So these 2 movements.
Yeah, they play to his strengths, or at least what he enjoys doing.
Acevedo is on to his round of 6. If you were hoping for a crowd outburst, the way that Sanchez got pushed to the finish line by the Brazilian crowd here in this heat, Guilherme Domingues is going to be your guy to keep an eye out for. He is in lane 2. And just a little bit behind your leader. There is Domingues.
He's moving in around 6 as Acevedo, just to the upper left corner of your screen, is moving into round 5. And I thought Oscar Mora was going to be able to push the pace or at least run him down, but it looks like he's going to fall off that pace. So Acevedo started very quickly, is still holding on to that lead. And I'm not sure if anybody else in this heat is looking like they want to try to take that lead back from him.
His pace is not going to hold up, but it looks like the lead may very well. And Acevedo turning to the crowd. You can see that little fist pump there. So trying to draw something from those looking on. That's Oscar Mora on the right of your screen. Luis Oscar Mora, after the run in triple threes, pushed himself into 11th place, good for 58 points. Trying to qualify for his second games and his first in the open division.
Now he still has a chance to try to catch up to Acevedo, but his cleans seem to be taking a little bit longer than I would expect him to, just with his ability and strength.
Well, he got to the bar for the push presses and now is on the cleans of the round of 5 before Acevedo turned around to walk back to deadlift.
Now, as I say that, he did a set of 3 unbroken, which is fine, but you can't rest more just because of that. It's more beneficial to stick with singles than do 3 touch and go and rest more than you would have in total in between. So he's not that far away, but he's going to have to start moving faster in between everything.
Acevedo jogging between. He is on to his round of 4. Oscar Mora is on to his round of 4, but has not yet begun the deadlifts. What's the walk like, both back to the deadlift bar and then after you've lifted the weight to turn around and come back to do your presses and your squats?
It depends on what you like doing.
Or cleans, I should say. Yeah.
If you hate deadlifts, it's the walk's too short. If you like it, then you should probably run anyway. But the walk is that break. It's your kind of an opportunity to take a breather, to soak in the surrounding, atmosphere around you. But, this is the time where you don't want to see much walking. You only have 10 total reps left to go. You did that in the first round of this event.
Paulo Ho Seal has come up from the back as well. He is now on his round of 4 in lane 5. So as Acevedo and Oscar Mora continue to work here, Ho Seal is now another name that starts to challenge near the front. There is Paulo Ho Seal, the 28-year-old out of Guatemala. Every athlete has a different route to regionals. Ho Seal crowdfunded a little bit of his journey here. Guy that started CrossFit because he was tired of going to the conventional gym. Tell me if you've heard that one before. And placed 3rd in his very first competition and said, you know what, I might be good at this. Decided to dedicate himself to it a little bit more. We are 2 minutes and 40 seconds away from the cap time. About 40% of competitors finished the work requirements or the workload inside the cap in week 1 of regionals. Acevedo, you can tell he has gassed for today, but you also know you have nothing left today, so you've got time to recover.
This is it. You started quick, maybe a little too quick in terms of pacing, but nobody else has stepped up to challenge him here, so he's going to be able to hold on towards the end. It won't be the best time we've seen for the day. But he's got himself enough lead in the beginning that he's able to hold on towards the end.
On to his round of 1. So Acevedo, although Oscar Mora is on his round of 2, he turned around. So it's going to be Acevedo here, barring disaster. Ho Seal is on to his round of 2. Ivan Gaitan, just a little behind him, is on his round of 3. There's your top 4. All the way at the bottom of competition, by the way, in lane 10, Hector Morales is on his reps of 3. He has just finished the deadlift. And Acevedo, done. So he came out guns a-blazing and almost emptied his clip, but he had a few shots left.
Yeah, and he finished first in this heat. It wasn't first overall for the event, but I mean, that guy with that strength and skill, I mean, he could have set a very, very impressive time with that strength and ability, not going out that fast.
Ho Seal is a finisher. Said he was coming up quickly from behind, and he catches Luis Oscar Mora, who has now just finished his deadlifts and has 30 seconds to finish the event. And he is hoofing it down the lane. And he should have enough time as long as he does not catch a no rep. Press. Squat clean and get over the line. There's 3 finishers. And with 5 seconds remaining, that will be all the finishers. And it'll be everything for Friday. Day 1. Refuel.
Refuel, recover, go to bed, ice bath, hamstring stretches. I mean, these athletes will feel this for the next 2 days after this one.
Mauro Acevedo, though, is your Heat 4 winner here in Event 2 for the men.
Well, I thought it came out too fast at the start, but he was able to hold on all the way to the finish, just setting one of the fastest first set of 10 times we've seen around the world. And even towards the end, taking a lot of rest in between singles, it was enough that he bought him a lot of time in the beginning, was able to still maintain that unbroken through the push presses and deadlifts. And now it's enough at the very end to get himself a heat win in this second event for the individuals.
Take a look at results at this point. Andre Sanchez winds up winning with that 14:35. Crushed it. Gallegos gets in there as well in second. Hebert and Batuke Iribarren, who won early in the heats, winds up in 4th. The Argentines, though, show well on Event 2.
As they did coming out of the Open, so.
And the women coming up, games.crossfit.com for all results, updates, leaderboards, and information. We're back in Brazil in just a moment.
Gotcha.